Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. All right. I love it. AI nerds. We're gonna nerd out. I have been looking forward to this conversation because I've been itching to talk about a few more advanced ChatGPT angles to take, and as well as AI video. That's just never ending conversation right there. And so I think as fellow AI nerds, we could probably geek out about that for a while. And I know the listeners would feel the same. So, Kinsey, I think you're the one to lead us there. So, can you share a little bit more about your journey and how you transitioned into helping entrepreneurs?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I can't wait to nerd out with you too. But yeah, like you said, my name is Kinsey. I've been an entrepreneur for 5+ years now, 5.5 years now, actually. And I started my brand as most of us do, just being like, okay, cool. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. So it took me a hot minute to realize the angle, the approach of my brand, what I truly believe, what I want to promote in my messaging, how I want to help people, all that stuff. It took me about a year to develop my first brand called Feel Good Social. And our little tagline is that we help down to earth solopreneurs show up online in a way that feels good to you without wasting your time or selling your soul. So that's always been my approach to online entrepreneurship in general, right? Approaching it from authenticity, leaning into who you truly are, because I feel like that makes it easier for you to show up in your business and is also more magnetic for your ideal customer. And also just making sure that you're building a business that aligns with you, your lifestyle, your working process, right? Because I think we're all unique and individual, and there's so much advice out there. But really, it's about finding the advice that can work for you. So
Mhm.
then, about a year and a half ago now, I first started hearing about the AI craze in the online entrepreneurship world, and everyone's shouting about using AI tools like ChatGPT. And I always like to share this because I feel like it's really relatable. But when I first heard about AI tools, I was a total curmudgeon about it, guys. Like, literally, I was like the grandpa from Dennis the Menace, like shaking my fist at the world, being like, isn't the internet fake? And I was worried about what this would do to our creativity and our critical thinking skills. I was super hesitant when it came to using these tools because I was afraid of what this would mean for our culture and especially in the online entrepreneur space, right? But then I had this realization, this like epiphany when I was on a long drive, and I realized that AI tools are here, and the best thing I could do was turn toward them, get curious about them, and try to figure out how can I use these tools in a way that works for me without sacrificing my authenticity or quality of work. So then I started my sister brand, Authentic AI, and I really just kind of dove headfirst into trying and testing and using all these tools and just trying to figure out how can I use these tools, but from that angle of approachability, authenticity, right? And honestly, my eyes were just open to truly, yes, these tools can be super frustrating and annoying and scary. And there's so many like little things that we can do to really train them on our brand and make sure that they are working for us to boost our productivity without turning our brands into robots.
Yeah, and the copy on your website is so incredibly relatable. It just brings you in. It feels like you are truly finding a friend. And you really do talk about how authenticity is so crucial for today's environment. So, how do you help your clients maintain that?
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things that, firstly, you really have to get to know your brand. This is why I like my two brands, Feel Good Social and Authentic AI, so much because With Feel Good Social, I've always encouraged people to lean into who they truly are, to get curious about themselves and understand that core brand identity that they are building so that you can more easily show up online in the way that just feels authentic to you. So then when it comes to using AI tools, the best thing you can do is train your AI assistant on all the things it needs to know about your brand, right? And I have a process that I walk my students through actually called Brand Blueprint for ChatGPT, where we really deep dive into 5 core brand strategies and outline those into a single document. And I don't want to scare you guys because my brand blueprint is 80 pages, and some of my students have said theirs are like 150 pages. It sounds scary, but I just wanted to share that's how deep we go, right, into these brand strategies.
Yeah.
But also, ChatGPT can help you create your brand blueprint. So it really can be done in just a few hours. Don't be scared. But literally, like when you can outline for these AI tools all the different interesting facets, all the different strategies that make up your brand, who you are, who you're speaking to, your offers, then your AI assistant truly can understand your brand's authentic self and help you show up in that way. Yeah, I think that authenticity is really about getting curious about not what other people are doing in the world, but looking more internally. What do I believe? What do I care about? How do I want to help people? And then showing up in that way, and when you're using an AI assistant, training it on that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then for those that are struggling to connect with an audience, what is that first step that you recommend they take?
Struggling to connect with their audience.
Yeah, they're struggling that to make that authentic connection. What is that first step that you recommend that they take?
Yeah, I think that there's 2 sides of this coin, right? There's who you are and showing up authentically as yourself and leaning into who you are because people can smell BS these days, guys. Like they can tell if you're showing up trying to be someone else. And when you can understand who you are and show up in that way, firstly, it makes it easier for you because you don't have to be worrying about putting on a front of some sort. But then I truly believe I'm like, it's slightly woo. So I'm like woo curious, guys. But it's
Love it.
really
I know. Hang on to that one. That one's going on a wall.
let's
Who
do it.
curious?
Woo curious. I do think there's like an energy, right? So when
Yeah.
you can show up in that place where you feel most comfortable, where you feel most excited, where
Yeah.
you feel like you can actually help people, then that energy, people can feel that. And the right people who you can actually help will be more attracted to you. And then on the other side of that coin, there is your ideal customers, right? And this is so interesting to think about is who are you speaking to? Who are your perfect people? And making sure that you always have that specific person in mind and also understanding as much about that person as you can. One of the
Mhm.
best ideal customers that you can speak to is actually if you imagine yourself like 2 to 5 years ago, right? Because you actually have lived that experience and you can actually totally completely relate to that and understand the nuances of the day-to-day, the struggles, all the things, the emotions that pop up. So that's really nice if you do have a ideal customer like that. But if you don't, and or if you have trouble connecting with that, ChatGPT is actually a really great tool to use for ideal customer research to, yeah, understand their demographics, the lifestyles, the values, beliefs, all that stuff. But then also, ChatGPT can help you brainstorm your ideal customers' struggles, their
Yeah.
desires, their dream life. And that's actually a part of the brand blueprint strategy I was talking about that I use to train ChatGPT on my clients then and on my brand and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. And what are some common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making in these areas? How do you help them avoid the pitfalls?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that there's a really big shift that we all need to make in our minds. And a lot of people come to these tools and they expect the tool to do all the work for you. So, for
Mhm.
example, they'll go to the tool and be like, write me a social media caption. And it'll write a social media caption. And you're like, that's not exactly what I wanted. Try again, make it more friendly. And then it'll write the whole caption again and it'll be like overly cheesy, right? And then they'll be like, no, cut back on the cheese, make it more professional. And then it'll go overboard in the other direction. And a lot of people will come to me being like, "Ugh, it just feels like pulling teeth trying to get what I want out of these tools, right? Like I'm going back and forth. I feel like I could have done this faster if I just did it myself. That's because you're going to the tool and expecting it to do the work for you and give you one perfect answer all the time. I always like to remind people to work in collaboration with these tools. And of course, there's different prompting techniques that we can use to get better results from the get go and all the different stuff. But for the social media caption example, if you go to ChatGPT and you're like, write me a social media caption, and it writes you a caption, and you're like, ugh, no, rewrite the whole thing. That's not always as helpful as if you would take that caption that it first wrote, copy it, paste it into your social media scheduler, and do a little bit of editing yourself. And then you're editing through the caption, and there's one line that's, ugh, like that's the line that was turning me off. I hate that sentence. You could copy that sentence only, paste that back into ChatGPT and have it brainstorm more ways to say this or something like that. There's different ways you can work in collaboration with these tools instead of having it do all the work for you. And I think just making that mindset shift is like huge.
Yeah, and recognizing that it just I was just having this conversation the other day. It just wants to make you happy. It is geared to give you what you want. So it will give you the best representation of what it's interpreting from your request, even to an extent of making things up if it has to, because it just wants to make you happy. So
Mhm.
when somebody framed it to me like that, I thought, okay, that's the power of context right there.
Mm.
Because if its whole goal is just to make you happy and I give it something generic, then it's going to grab random data from the database and make me happy. It thinks.
Yeah, it has to make assumptions about your
Right.
brand, and you know what they say about assumptions. It's true
Right.
even for robots, guys.
Yep. 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 Can you maybe walk us through one of your favorite strategies or tools that sparks like a really solid response, you think, that would help spark that creativity for us?
Yeah, totally. My favorite go-to tool training method that I use with ChatGPT is what I mentioned already, that brand blueprint for ChatGPT. Literally,
Mhm.
I like shout this from the rooftops because I swear by it so much. Like the results, the responses that ChatGPT dishes up for me from the get go are just like night and day and so awesome. And I save so much time. I actually nerdily did the math the other day. I've been saving up to 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, and 70 hours a month using AI tools. And the brand blueprint is super helpful because it literally allows me to just train ChatGPT on all of my brand in 5 seconds. And then I can just hit the ground running and go. But yeah, the brand blueprint method, what it is basically with ChatGPT's help, we are outlining 5 core strategies for your brand. So, your brand core identity, that's your mission, vision, values, beliefs, opinions, everything that kind of makes your brand who it is, right? Also, your ideal customers, like we already mentioned, not just their demographics or psychographics, but the pain points, desires, all those things that really get into the mindset of your ideal customer. And then, especially with like how you help them as a brand, so you know how to
Mhm.
speak to them. Then the third strategy, of course, is your brand voice and writing style, because especially if you're having ChatGPT write you content or even create podcast scripts for you or anything like that, having it understand your brand voice is so important and helpful so that it doesn't sound like a robot. And I'm a word nerd, so I love to talk about brand voice. And also personality goes into that, right? And so it goes so much deeper than just write this in a friendly tone, right? There's so much
100%.
more
Yeah.
to your brand voice. I have it outlined the archetypes of your brand. So, for example, I'm the girl next door, a sage, and also a little bit of rebel kicked in there too, because I like to go against the grain sometime. Also, my brand tone of voice, but that's deeper than friendly, like I said. My brand's tone of voice, my kind of descriptive words that I use are down to earth, straightforward with dry wit and self deprecating humor. Don't ask me why. I did not know I was self-deprecating before I started using ChatGPT, but hey, that language works with ChatGPT to understand like my brand tone of voice, right? But then also it's like formatting, right? Emoji usage, sentence structure, the nuances and quirks that you add to your writing to like really add personality. ChatGPT can
Mhm.
analyze all of that for you and then replicate it again and again, which is so cool. And so that's the third strategy we add to the brand blueprint. And then we also outline your offer suite because, especially if you're using ChatGPT for strategizing or creating content with CTAs, calls to action that leads to one of your offers or something like that, then having your offer suite outlined is awesome. And then that includes like your free lead magnets and stuff, right? And also your
Mhm.
paid offers. And then the final out strategy that we outline is your messaging, right? Because we need to know what your brand believes and how you talk about it, the message that you're spreading. So when you add all of those strategies to a brand blueprint, it's basically just a Google Doc. Seriously. Mine's 80 pages, like I said, don't be scared. But then from there, when it's all outlined in one document, you can just use the file upload feature whenever you want to
Mhm.
train the chat GPT on your brand. And the cool thing is it can be used for the free version or the paid version. So that's awesome. But if you do have the paid version, you can actually use the document to create custom GPTs as well, which
I
just
was just
eliminates
thinking
one
that.
step too. So it's
Yep, I was
really
just
awesome.
thinking that.
Yep.
I'm like, that is it, you're basically creating a little digital twin. Your
Digital mini
business is,
me. That's one of
yeah.
my messaging words that I use.
Yeah, exactly. A digital mini me. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And it is such a game changer then once it knows all of that for content creation, I would think.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so many people only scratch the surface of its potential. They get stuck in a certain level of exposure or a certain level of basic prompt. Beyond this blueprint, this is a game changer in and of itself. What kind of advanced ways have you seen or used ChatGPT that might surprise us?
Yeah. One of the things that I love to do that I don't think a lot of people realize like you can do is like formula prompts, I call them, or fill in the blank prompts, either way. But okay, so this goes back to again, you go to ChatGPT and you're like, write me a social media caption. And then it writes something up for you. And it's this is too markety. This isn't me, right? And especially for me as a word nerd, and I've been content creator for years and years. That's what I helped people with for Feel Good Social and stuff. Usually I know what I'm looking for in a caption or an email. Like I understand the flow of how I want my captions to go, but it's like filling in the blanks kind of thing. It's like finding those specific words or the turns of phrase that I want to use for a specific topic or something. So I have been using formula prompts, fill in the blank prompts, and especially for like my social media captions. I actually have an AI Reels club where I offer these to my members. But basically, it's instead of saying write me a social media caption, it's write me a social media caption on this topic. And then I will, in quotations, write out the caption in a fill in the blank format for the most part. So it's, for example, this is a generic caption that I'm coming up with off the top of my head, but it's like struggling with blank. I've got your back. Whenever I blank, then I started blank. It's like that sort of thing. And ChatGPT does a really good job of filling in the blanks for you, especially if it's trained on your brand already. So yeah, thinking about that kind of formula prompt structure, it works really well if you're like kind of a copywriter nerd and you already know what you're looking for. But if you know what you're looking for, tell it exactly what you're looking for, right? Especially whatever your expertise is, if you know what you want from ChatGPT, don't just expect it to know that. Give it all the details and even structure it out in a fill in the blank word. Or you could even say, for another example of doing this without filling in the blank for caption is I want to write a social media caption. Start with an attention grabbing question, then transition into empathizing with the problem, then transition into sharing a hot tip, then end with a call to action, right? That's like another example of a formula prompt you could use. And whatever your expertise is, bring that to ChatGPT. Tell it exactly what you want. It'll give you what you want instead of going back and forth, having it make assumptions, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say iteration is always going to be part of it because even when you do give it that kind of formula, you're going to have to go back and forth with it a little bit, but that formula is going to save you so much time.
Mhm. I will say, okay, so I'm gonna totally nerd out with you because I feel like ChatGPT has been getting better lately. And I
Oh,
don't know, I
100%.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Because definitely like I always tell people, bring your own thoughts and ideas and opinions to the platform first. Tell it what you think. Tell it your perspective so that it knows before you put the prompt in. And then at the end, always run it through the filter of your brand. Make sure it makes sense for you and your ideal customers. Read through it and tweak the words that need tweaking, right?
Mhm.
But I will say, like lately, I used to be proud. I used to be proud because I was like, I have never copy pasted something straight from ChatGPT into a caption. I always at least tweak one word. Like lately, ChatGPT has been killing it so much that
Yeah.
I haven't really had to do that a lot, like, as much, like, there's been definitely a few times where I've just been able to copy paste, and that's with me taking a look at it and being like, "Is this something I literally would have produced?" Like,
Right.
I'm very proud because lately, ChatGPT has not been including colons in my email subject lines, and I am so proud of that fact 'cause I know it's a hard thing for a lot of people. ChatGPT is just known for putting colons in the frickin' email subject lines, and it hasn't for me lately, and I'm like, "Wow, ChatGPT, you are listening to me, girl."
And that's, I would argue that the fact that it can hang on to everything you've taught it, it can hang on to every example that you've liked, every sample you've ever uploaded into it. It gets smarter with time.
Mhm.
So the more it gets to know your business, the more it can cross-reference multiple threads of conversations. Because that's been the other thing I've been falling in love with is the fact that I'm like not I don't even have to search anymore. So, can you remember the last time we talked about blah blah blah? And it pulls up, yes, would you like me to reference that in this conversation?
Mhm.
Hell yeah. I don't want to have to search that. I'm so glad that you can bring that right into this thread right now. And it knows so much more about being a thought partner with me because of that ability to connect all the work that we've done.
Mhm.
I absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
on top of that, AI video tools are becoming increasingly popular. So you want to talk about geeking out with somebody about something? Let's geek out about AI video because I was literally just having a conversation with a marketer woman, female entrepreneur, flying solo, trying to wear all the hats. And she was just like, I want to learn AI video so bad because I want to add it to part of my marketing strategy for my business. And she wants to be able to help her clients with it as well. And how do you see AI video fitting into the content strategies that you're using with your clients as well? Because we can't just have that format from ChatGPT all the time. Sometimes we need to shake it up a little bit. How do you see it fitting in to help us stand out?
Yeah, yeah. When I think about AI video and AI tools for video editing in my business, that's where I usually geek out because I've had my one podcast for 4.5 years now, and now I have two podcasts with my authentic AI one. So literally, I used to spend like way too long, let's be honest, editing my podcast episodes because I would start out being like, okay, I'm not gonna edit it that much, and then by the end, I'm, like, editing out every little breath because you get sucked into it, and it would take me so long. So, actually, I'm really excited about using a software called Descript for video editing. Yes, and it makes it yeah, we were talking about the studio sound before,
Yep.
guys. Descript is an awesome text-based video editor for editing podcasts or YouTube videos or really whatever kind of video you want. I use it for my courses, for my online courses too, which we could geek out about that because there's like several awesome features with Descript for that. But like literally, it makes it so easy to just edit a video and see the transcript and then create social clips from that video. And I took a 6 hour podcast editing process from start to finish to a 2 hour or like even 1.5 hours sometimes from like start to finish. So it's still going through and editing the video, but it's just doing everything so easily for me. And so we can totally geek out about that. But also, if you want to geek out about AI generated videos, we can do that as well. I'm not sure what you're thinking.
I love the fact that the hours of time that you have saved. I absolutely love that because if anything, wearing all the hats, you have to remind yourself of what's possible for your own sanity. I
Mhm.
really do see that. It's as you know that you have saved yourself. You've shaved off 4 hours of this process. My God, who wouldn't want to dive in if that's the benefit, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, also side note, like, it's hilarious that you bring that up because I like math, but I'm never one of those people who in the past would have done the percentages, like, okay, I actually know I'm editing my videos 4.5 times faster. The reason I know all these math numbers, firstly, I was doing a live workshop and I was like, "Oh, this would be a cute graphic, time saved," all that stuff. So then I went down the deep end, but ChatGPT helped me figure all this stuff out. So that was
I love
another
it.
thing it helped me with, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And I do think for a business owner that is getting the word out about a product and they are recording themselves on video, using it, sampling it, talking about it, Descript is a fantastic resource. And I'm not an affiliate, I'm not aligned with it in any way other than a user that absolutely loves what it can do.
Mhm.
And it is absolutely a time saver, 100%. To go through, remove all the filler words, remove all of this, remove all of that. It just does it in seconds. And then to create those clips, you can format them to look what you want them to look like.
So
It's so
easy.
helpful. It is so
Mhm.
helpful. I agree with you 100%. And but there is, as you pointed out, there's this whole other side to generative AI video creation where you're actually creating something that is AI from start to finish. Have you dabbled with that as well?
Okay, I have not gotten to geek out with anyone about this, yeah, so you'll be my first one, and
Let's go. Let's do it.
okay, let's talk about it because I feel like there's quite a few different things to think about when it comes to both AI generated images and AI generated video. So I started with like the AI generated images, and actually
Mhm.
AI generated images are getting real good, guys. A year ago, they were still pretty crappy, and like you could tell for sure at a glance if you had seen any other AI generated anything before, you could be like, yeah, probably generated by AI. Now it's actually getting way harder to recognize AI generated work. Actually, during the election season, right after the Hurricane Helene,
You're good.
okay.
You're
Um,
totally good.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, actually, right after one of the hurricanes happened, there was an AI generated image of a little girl in like a boat with a puppy, and people were freaking out. And it was actually AI generated, which is crazy. Like, it's one of those things. I think when it comes to AI generated images and videos, we need to talk about like the ethics of it in a way. And also, I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer at this point in the world as far as culture, but I really like to encourage people to look internally and decide for yourself, how do I want to use these tools? How do I want to use these images or videos in my brand, right? And that's something that you need to mull over and think about. What do I feel okay with and aligned with as far as that goes? For me, for my brands, I don't know if you guys can tell, I've always just leaned into the genuine side of things, frizzy hair, dirt under the fingernails, whatever. So my other or my feel good social brand has always been you'll see my messy house. You'll usually just see me in a sweater or like whatever. And so I tend to stick with the realistic stuff, my own lifestyle stuff for my feel good social brand. But I will say for my authentic AI brand, oh man, I've been having so much fun doing AI generated images for my branding and stuff, making like super badass, like space women typing at their computers and stuff, and all that different stuff.
I love
Um,
it.
it's been so fun. So I've been doing a lot with imagery. The video has been pretty crappy up until this point, although recently quite a few new models have been released with AI generated video and different things. And there's a lot of cool things that can happen. I will say at this point, it's still not awesome at doing any type of realistic humans in videos. Like the faces go weird, the hands definitely go weird, the eyeballs end up looking crazy a lot of times. So just be aware that while this is coming and it's definitely going to improve, and there are ways that you could use it for your brand for social media videos or even like website banners or something like that. Do you have to? No. And do you want to, or how do you want to do this? It's up to you to decide. I tend to love to lean into like real life videos, especially as a brand. If you are like a solopreneur and stuff, like videos are always a way that you can really connect with people. They can look at you,
Mhm.
they can see into your eyes and stuff. And so I always encourage real life videos for that sort of thing, but it depends on the
Mhm.
brand.
Yeah. Yeah. and what you want to show them, what you want to, yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it. But for entrepreneurs listening today, making these decisions for themselves right now, what is one skill or tool in AI that you think they should prioritize learning to improve, say, maybe a content strategy right away?
Yeah, it depends on everyone individually and stuff. Like, how I like to teach AI is to make it work for you. Figure out, where do I need AI in my life and how can I start using it in a way that's going to be helpful for me? Because we all know how easy it is to get sucked into AI rabbit holes, right? Like, often when people just start using these tools, they finally get over the AI scaries hump. They open up ChatGPT or like they start looking into AI tools and they're like, there's so many possibilities. This is amazing. But then there'll be two things that they do. They'll either be like, oh my gosh, this is scary. Never mind. And not use the tools right away. Or they will go down an AI rabbit hole and get sucked into all these different things and then end up wasting time and not being productive like they were hoping for. I always like to to encourage people to think about the two different types of tasks that you have in your day to day. And I always like to compare it to business because I help business owners. But there are in your business, you have your workflows and processes that you already have in place. So, what do you do repeatably every week? Whether that's creating content, podcast editing, working with clients, whatever your repeatable workflows and processes that you already have set up in place for your business, take a look at those and look at the different steps and be like, could ChatGPT help me here? Or could I find an AI tool to help me with this? And get curious about working them into those workflows that are already working for you instead of feeling like you have to completely revamp and AIify everything. So for me, for the podcast editing workflow, for example, I use Descript for the video editing, and now I use ChatGPT or Descript's built-in AI tool for the show notes too. And I have AI built into my process. It makes it super easy, right? So yeah, take a look at your workflows, figure out where could you use AI's help. And then the other type of tasks that you have in your everyday, this is what I love to talk about because I don't think people really realize that this is a place you can save time. It's those kind of day to day tasks and those daily pressure points or blocks that come up where you end up wasting time because you're stuck or something like that. So, this could look like you're writing a social media caption, you're tapping away at the keyboard, you're feeling great, this caption is awesome. And all of a sudden you hit that writer's block and you're like, ugh, I don't know how to finish this thing. So
Yeah. Happens all the
before,
time. Yeah.
yeah, before I would like waste at least 15 minutes, if not longer, banging my head against the keyboard, trying to think of that word or trying to figure out how to finish this thing. Now I just go to ChatGPT, I have it finish it for me. Another example I love to share too, because I don't know if people realize ChatGPT can do this, but I was creating a sales page for one of my programs and I wanted to add a countdown timer because it was the first time I was launching this online course. And I was like, oh man, I want to add a countdown timer to my Squarespace website. I don't want to pay for anything. I bet there's a code I could use to add to this website, but I don't know what it is. And I'll be honest, one of my uh, most like aggravating things in life is having to go down a tech forum and try to find the answer to something. Like I hate going to Squarespace tech forums. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what the answer is. This going to
I
work
just
for me?
assumed 50,000 things.
I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But I instead, when I was working on that sales page, I went to ChatGPT and asked it if it could write a code for
Yes.
me, and it
Yes.
did. And actually, the first code it spit out for me didn't quite work. So I went back to ChatGPT. I was like, "It's not quite working." And it was like, "Oh, it's probably this. Here, try this." And like literally within 5 minutes, with a little back and forth, it got the countdown timer code working. And now I use it on pretty much every freaking sales page, and it's awesome. It's those daily life pressure points and blocks and getting stuck moments where these
Mhm.
tools can really help you save time simply by not wasting it. And I will say, okay, this is, I always like to share this because I think it's hilarious. Okay, when you're trying to get into a new habit, you're starting something new, like using AI tools, but you don't really remember that you have that option. Like it took
Mhm.
me a while when I first started using these tools to remember, oh, I could ask ChatGPT if it can help me with this, right? Because I just wasn't used to it. So to train myself to use ChatGPT in those moments, I'm calling it the sticky note method. So I use this handy dandy little piece of technology called a sticky note. And I wrote it on it, I wrote, "Can ChatGPT help me with this?" I stuck it next to my computer screen, and now every time I, get stuck,
Yeah.
will be typing away, I get stuck on something, I do, a giant eye roll, and I, look at the sticky note next to my computer screen, I'm like, "Can ChatGPT help me with this? Maybe. Let's go find out." So,
I love
that's
it.
how I trained myself to use ChatGPT, and it actually worked.
I love it. The sticky note was specifically eye roll placed. I like how you
Oh, yeah. No, it is, because I
I
know
know
myself,
exactly
right?
where to
I'm
put
like,
this.
"Oh, oh." Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I've gotten to a point where now I'm going to say her name and she's going to act up over there, but I'll be like, Alexa, what is the word for? And she'll be like, oh, okay. And she'll throw it out. And I get to a point where I walk into a hotel room and I'm like, oh,
Ah.
I didn't bring it with me.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it is true. You get so used to certain habits
Mhm.
that it's like you need to have a note initially to remind yourself, but once you get hooked, it just becomes one of those things where you're just like, "All right, I get this. I can be so much more productive now. I can save the heavy cognitive lifting for what
Mhm.
I really need to put it towards, which is my content or my workflow or my best next steps or where I want my business to go next. All of these things that take up so much time. It's like I can't even tell you when I started my website, I literally spent a month figuring out how to do this step, how to do that step, how to do X, how to do Y, how to do Z.
Mhm.
Found some can't tell you how many YouTube videos I found, and then I had to bookmark them all because I have to go back to them 12 times. It's just so achingly difficult
Mhm.
to be a solopreneur all by yourself doing all of these things, but to get into the habit of saying, "Can ChatGPT help me with this?" Why, yes, it most likely can.
Yeah. And if it can't, it can usually point you toward a resource that can, right? So
Exactly. Exactly. So that sounds like the one piece of advice that we might want to say looking back on the journey,
Yeah, yeah.
always try to ask. So, what is next for you, Kinsey? What's next for your business? Are there some exciting projects you're working on? Things you want to share with us?
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. I actually have been doing some ideating with ChatGPT just recently, and I have figured out what I want to do coming in the new year and stuff like that. But yeah, brainstorming and ideating with ChatGPT is one of my favorite things. I'm sure maybe the replay will be ready when this episode comes out, but a live workshop this week called Brainstorming and Journaling with ChatGPT. 'Cause that's literally one of those really awesome things that you can use just a brain dump into these softwares and have it help you clarify, organize, prioritize, all that different stuff. And actually, we're approaching it from both the business perspective of help you organize your ideas, prioritize, especially because people are feeling so scattered right now, myself too. It's the end of the year. There's lots going on in the world. We're all, what am I doing? ChatGPT can help us with this, guys. And it's so nice. But it can actually also help you with personal stuff too. I've had it give me insights into why I'm feeling triggered over a certain email or how to communicate with someone in my life who's always difficult to communicate with. That sort of stuff is really helpful. So anyway, that's a live workshop I do have coming up, but I also am offering several more live workshops. Calling it a live workshop series through the beginning of the year for creating custom GPTs, storytelling with ChatGPT, because it can really help you hone and write your stories that are relatable to share with your customers. Planning your content for the new year with ChatGPT. I want to do a brand goals mood board with ChatGPT workshop too. Cause just all
Mhm.
these fun little actionable things that you can do for your business with ChatGPT. And I can help show you how to do that because it's something I'm doing for myself and it's really easy. But yeah, other than that, we're just continuing to grow our course library and we have that online membership for AI reels and stuff. So that's what we have going on.
And you know what? It's such a valuable service that you're offering. So I really do consider this a gift. So thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun to geek out.
I absolutely loved it. We will have to geek out again.
I'm down.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.